Bardzo proszę pana prezydenta Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej, Karola Nawrockiego, o wygłoszenie orędzia. Bardzo proszę, panie prezydencie.
The Republic of Poland is the common good of all its citizens, and the supreme authority in the Republic is exercised by the nation. Therefore, I welcome the Polish nation within the borders of the Republic and beyond its borders. I welcome the thousands, tens of thousands of Polish citizens who have come to Warsaw today and whom I met under the Polish Sejm. I welcome all those millions of voters who chose their President of the Republic of Poland, who just moments ago took his oath. I thank everyone for their votes and for their support. I also thank, dear ladies and gentlemen, those who did not vote for me, but participated in this democratic act of voting in connection with the celebration of our democracy on June 1st. Honorable Mr. President, Mrs. Presidents, Honorable Mr. Speaker of the Sejm, Mr. Speaker of the Senate, Mr. Prime Minister, dear members of the National Assembly, Excellencies, Eminences, Generals, dear ladies and gentlemen, the free choice of a free nation has placed me before you today. It placed me before you despite electoral propaganda, lies, political theater, and the contempt I faced on my path to the office of the President of the Republic of Poland. And I forgave. And as a Christian with peace in my heart, and from the depths of my heart, I forgive all that contempt and what happened during the election. Dear ladies and gentlemen, as a national community, we have this great value of attachment to Christian values and identity. This should not change, and in Christian values, love and mercy toward others are among the fundamental elements. But these elections and June 1st also sent a strong message from the sovereign to the entire political class by choosing me for the office of the President of the Republic of Poland. This is a message that governance cannot continue as it has, and that Poland should not look the way it does today. This, dear ladies and gentlemen, is the voice of Polish women and men. The voice of Polish women and men who want politicians to fulfill the promises made during election campaigns. June 1st is a clear signal that Poles want electoral promises to be fulfilled, that they want to choose their president with a sense of freedom and not succumb to political propaganda. I say this, honorable ladies and gentlemen, only because on June 1st we all realized once again that the President of the Republic of Poland must be and only be the voice of the citizens of the Republic. Nothing more. As the President of Poland, I will be the voice of the Polish nation, and this is the task before me. I will not surprise you with my political program for the next 5 years. Yes, Poles expect politicians to fulfill their promises, and I included my promises in Plan 21, in the program for Poland in the 21st century. In a program that received 10.5 million votes from voters. Therefore, my speech today should not come as a surprise to anyone, dear ladies and gentlemen, because I intend to be consistent and determined in implementing Plan 21. And in this plan, it is clearly stated that I am a strong supporter and will support all initiatives. Through my decisions, I will strive to ensure that the Polish state is ambitious and a place of development. A place for great groundbreaking projects such as the Central Communication Port, Polish roads, and Polish ports. The program I will implement is a program for the sustainable development of the Polish state. Yes, we all come from Polish cities and villages. And there is no Poland A and Poland B. This will not change over the next 5 years of my presidency. Plan 21 and my program are not for illegal migration. Yes to the Polish zloty. No to the euro. As the President of Poland, I will not allow the retirement age for women and men to be raised. I say all this, dear ladies and gentlemen, although I am aware that the election campaign provided an opportunity to learn about Plan 21, so I will not list all 21 points. But I want to emphasize that I deeply believe my presidency will restore faith in the promises made. For 5 years, every hour, every day, every week, with every decision and legislative initiative, I will fulfill my commitments to my voters and to those who participated in the elections. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you aware of the great task and enormous responsibility that lies ahead of me. But I stand here in the Polish Sejm also, aware of the divisions in Polish political and social life. I want to clearly declare that I will not make my decisions based on these divisions or political divides. Only in contrary to these divisions, always referring to the voice of the Polish nation, not to political or party emotions. These have not interested me for 42 years and will not interest me as the President of Poland. In my decisions, I will be the voice of the nation, faithful to my program. This, dear ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee to everyone. I will, therefore, be the voice of those who want a sovereign Poland. A Poland that is in the European Union, but a Poland that is not the European Union. Only Poland and will remain Poland. Both in discussions with the Polish government, in my decisions, and on the international stage, I will, of course, diplomatically support relations within the European Union, but I will never agree to the European Union taking away Poland's competencies, especially in matters not enshrined in European treaties, and these should not change. Yes, I will be the voice of citizens who want sovereignty. I will be the voice of those who want a secure Poland, and Poland's security begins with every rank-and-file soldier. From their equipment, their awareness, their resilience, spirit, and heart. I will be the voice of Polish soldiers and Polish officers. I will support Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister, all efforts to modernize the Polish army. I will strive to ensure that the Polish army becomes the strongest force in NATO within the European Union. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I will also, naturally, addressing our partners from the United States, support Poland's most important alliances, including the bilateral alliance with the United States. I will also care for Poland's position in the North Atlantic Alliance. Even as President-elect, I took the effort to establish a relationship with the NATO Secretary General. But I also believe, dear ladies and gentlemen, that Poland should be a leader in building the strength of the immune system and responsibility of NATO's eastern flank. And I dream that the Bucharest 9 in the long term will become the Bucharest 11 together with the Scandinavian countries. Yes, we as Poles in Central and Eastern Europe are responsible for building the strength of NATO's eastern flank. And this should also be the international geopolitical direction of my presidency. Dear members of the National Assembly, I will also be the voice of those Poles who want a normal Poland, a Poland attached to its values, a Poland with a good Polish school. Dear ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, I would like to thank President Andrzej Duda for 10 years of holding the office of the President of Poland with so many successes. I also thank you, Mr. President, for helping the current president take office in such a democratic, civilized, beautiful, and proper manner. I believe that we could all learn from you, Mr. President, about the culture, institutions, and the most important office of the Polish state. Thank you very much for this, Mr. President. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I will also be the voice of those Poles who want a prosperous Poland. Over the last 35 years, as a national community, we have achieved great economic and business success. To be clear, often in spite of politicians, sometimes with the help of politicians, but always thanks to wonderful Polish entrepreneurs and very hard-working Polish workers who for 35 years worked hard for the economic and business success of the Polish state, often paying a very high price for it. The price of emigration, the price of excessive work. But this is how, over these 35 years, Poland achieved economic and business success. Unfortunately, during these 35 years, many years saw specific social groups or specific regions of Poland excluded from this success. This, of course, we must improve. But I want to clearly emphasize, dear ladies and gentlemen, that after these 35 years, and economists know this, and you, parliamentarians in this chamber, know this, something has changed in geopolitics and the global economy. We need big plans and major investments today. We need to awaken the aspirations of the Polish nation, because we can no longer be an auxiliary economy to our Western neighbors or the entire European Union. We must, dear ladies and gentlemen, seek an economic path that will become a form of economic and business competitiveness also vis-à-vis Western Europe. Yes, we need large and groundbreaking investment projects. I have already mentioned this, but I will regularly mention the Central Communication Port. And tomorrow I will submit a legislative initiative to return to the traditional shape of the Central Communication Port and find our economic flywheel for the coming decades, which will allow us, dear ladies and gentlemen, to develop. Therefore, I look with sadness, honorable ladies and gentlemen, at what is happening today around groundbreaking investment projects in the Polish state, because we could essentially divide them into those completely blocked, scaled back, or at best, delayed. This is a very concerning scenario, and when we look at the rapidly growing debt of the Polish state and the public debt, as well as the objective demographic problem in our homeland and the housing issue, unfortunately, Poland is currently on a very bad path to development, and we must be aware of this. Something must change. Hence, Honorable Mr. Prime Minister, dear ministers, I would like to cordially invite you today to a meeting of the Cabinet Council, which will take place later in August. I will want to discuss with the Polish government developmental investments, the most important investments ahead of us, and the state of public finances. I feel obliged, Mr. Prime Minister, as the President of Poland, to have full information about the state of the Polish state. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I deeply believe, and I look here at the left side of the Polish Parliament, that in matters of housing, developmental investments, and Polish public finances, we can reach a cross-political agreement. Yes, this is not a matter of political emotions. It is a matter of housing for people, including municipal housing that they need. It is a matter of the future of our children and future generations of Poles. And I sincerely count on the cooperation of all political groups on these issues, which we should not politicize. And I will also devote special attention to these issues in the Chancellery of the President of the Republic of Poland. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I also hope that we will be able to reach an agreement on matters concerning social groups that require special care from the Polish state. I am thinking here of seniors. I am thinking of young people, in whom the code of our future is written. These groups will have dedicated presidential councils in the presidential palace, which will seek solutions for seniors and youth. But the strength and potential of a state are also measured by how it responds to the needs of the most vulnerable. Therefore, I also believe in a cross-political agreement on people with disabilities and the laws being prepared for them. Dear ladies and gentlemen, Poland must return to the path of the rule of law. Poland is not on the path of the rule of law today, because it is hard to call a state ruled by law when a legally elected national prosecutor does not function or operate. When Article 7 of the Constitution, which states that state authorities must act on the basis and within the limits of the law, is unfortunately regularly violated. Therefore, I stand before you today to appeal to the entire political class, but also to convey to Polish judges and the Minister of Justice that, honorable ladies and gentlemen, judges are there to issue judgments in the name of the Republic of Poland, and the judiciary is one of the three branches of power in the Polish democratic system. Polish legislation, if I am not mistaken, is created in this chamber, in the Polish Sejm, elected by the will of the voters, and in the Polish Senate, and it must gain the approval of the President of Poland, elected in universal and direct elections. And judges, dear ladies and gentlemen, we must all realize, are not gods. They are to serve the Republic of Poland and Polish citizens. I say this only to clearly, plainly, and obviously declare, Honorable Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister of Justice, that I will not promote or nominate those judges who undermine the constitutional legal order of the Republic of Poland. And I will promote, advance, and nominate those judges who respect the constitutional legal order of the Republic of Poland, in accordance with the Constitution and laws adopted by the Polish Parliament and signed by the President. This is how I envision the legal order of the Polish state. And the legal security of Polish citizens, who await just judgments and the constitutional legal order of the Polish state, is, dear ladies and gentlemen, far more important to me than the self-satisfaction of one of the social classes in Poland. I want to emphasize this clearly. To address the issue of the state system, I will establish a council for the reform of the state system at the presidential palace. Yes, dear ladies and gentlemen, things cannot continue this way, and Poles want the state system to be reformed. I will, of course, invite representatives of all political groups to this council. I will invite academics, I will invite those people for whom the care for the Polish state and our legal system is close to their hearts. And I believe that the presidential palace will become a place of dialogue, a place of discussion about the consistent reform of the system of the Republic of Poland. Before us, Honorable Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President, dear members of the National Assembly, lies a task for our future as well. A task that already now requires the activity of the President of the Republic and all political factions. I look with appreciation at the creators of the 1997 Constitution, of which I am and will be the guardian, the Constitution that is in force. However, today, dear ladies and gentlemen, after nearly 30 years, we are in a completely new social and geopolitical situation. Over nearly 30 years, so many competency disputes have occurred. In recent times, the Polish constitution has been so regularly violated that we, as a political class, must start working on solutions for a new fundamental law, which I hope and believe will be ready for adoption by 2030. Yes, the presidential palace will become, dear ladies and gentlemen, not only a place for the functioning of the Constitutional Council, but also a place where we will open, I hope, a national, honest discussion about what the Constitution of 2030 should look like, because citizens today need clear, transparent principles of cooperation between politicians, safeguarding the interest of the sovereignty and security of the Polish state, and we must start doing this now, from 2025, to be ready by 2030 at the latest. This, I am deeply convinced, is also what the sovereign demands of us today, to take another look at the fundamental law, which will soon be 30 years old. Dear ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I have served the Polish state in various institutions for many years, but I have been in the political world for a very short time. I have been in the political world for less time than most of you. So allow me, honorable ladies and gentlemen, at the very end, perhaps with political naivety, to say that I believe we will be able to reach an agreement on matters fundamental to Poland and exclude them from political disputes. Issues of development, housing, and Polish security are ones around which I believe we can build a cross-party, cross-political consensus. We, as a national community, have a beautiful experience of working on a specific endeavor, which at the time was called independence. From different perspectives, and with various, no less intense than today, political emotions. This is the lesson of the Polish fathers of independence from 1918, who, when we read them today, honorable ladies and gentlemen, we know how different they were, but they can often be read as a unified challenge of devotion to the common idea of Poland's independence and freedom. The late President Lech Kaczynski once said that it is worth being a Pole. We must once again, because it is hard not to agree with Roman Dmowski, who said that we are Poles and have Polish duties. Surely no one in this chamber doubts that we are Poles and have Polish duties. Józef Piłsudski said that independence is not given to us once and for all. Today we feel this more than ever, as a war is being waged beyond our eastern border, and Poland must endure forever, as Wincenty Witos said. Speaking from different perspectives, they speak, as it were, with one voice. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we can learn social sensitivity from Wojciech Korfanty, who reminded us that the main function of the state is to serve. We are here to serve Polish citizens and serve people. I, as president, am here for nothing else but to serve. Ignacy Daszyński added that this is why we must serve society, work hard, and listen to society. Yes, we must listen to society. The greatest virtuoso of all the fathers of independence, also our wonderful father of independence, Ignacy Paderewski, with his characteristic grace, added that we must fight against those who push the nation toward decline and degradation.
Niech Bóg błogosławi Polsce! Niech żyje Polska! Dziękuję.